Well, let's get to work here. Here are the 5 reasons why you need to get control of your financial future today. The first is a failure of conventional strategies in providing a stable retirement income. You know, we have millions and millions of Americans today who have been failed by the system. They've lost 30, 40, 50% of their money and they're trying to make it. And, you know, their broker's telling them the same thing that they told them last time it went down. We have institutionalized fraud. You know, it seems like almost every day there's a new crook in the news. And they all belong to these big institutions that we used to trust. There's a lack of guarantees. You know, they're, in a major sense, we're all on our own when we're in the conventional system. But there are ways to get some guarantees. Market volatility. You know, everybody knows about that and how it can impact your nest egg. And finally, what we call the perfect storm. And this is a convergence of 5 major negative trends that will devastate your financial future if you don't do something about it. And we're going to talk at pretty good length about that in a little bit. So every one of these problems that we just talked about is a 21st century problem. The trouble is the advice that you're getting is based on 20th century ideas. And everybody just keeps saying, do the same thing, do the same thing, do the same thing. But that's what got us in trouble to begin with. I'm saying don't do the same thing. So here's an example of a 21st century problem. Build your nest egg to ensure there's enough money to retire well. And here's an example of the 20th century idea. Invest in mutual funds for the long term. That's the idea that we get. Trouble is, the average equity mutual fund has averaged less than a 3% return over the last 20 years. And that's according to John Bogle, who's the founder of the Vanguard Group. We have the option for you to get that report from John Bogle if you want it. It's a great report. I'd recommend you read it. So, you know, if you're sitting there with the mutual fund statement today, I want to ask you, has that 20th century idea solved your 21st century problem? And most people will say no, that is the problem. This is why so many Americans today have just abandoned those old ideas. I mean, we've had people just wholesale coming out of the stock market, out of mutual funds all over the country. They're just tired of it. They're tired of riding the wave. So here's one thing that you really need to think about. You know, we look back here at the peaks and the valleys of the stock market, and this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average chart over the last 10 years. And you can see right back after the start of the year 2000, we had a real nice peak there at about 12,000 points. And then we had some volatility, and then the market dropped out. And it took 7.5 years for that market to come back just to the point where it was at the previous high. 7.5 years. And that's not counting for inflation, that's just the number. So there we are, there's that 7.5 year span. And so many people who retired in that span, who were retired in that 7.5 years, really took a big hit. You know, in some cases, you know, in here, you know, their income literally was reduced by half. So now we have a new high point in late 2007 and a much more precipitous drop. So here we are trying to build back. How long is it going to take to get back to where it was before it fell? Nobody knows. Nobody even knows if it will. But the whole point is we have complete uncertainty about the future of this 20th century model. So the thing that we don't want to do is get caught down here in these valleys. And I love the peaks, but I hate the valleys. I guess I'm like everybody else. But what do you do? So the bottom line, though, when we take a look at those valleys, those are what are failing the retired people today. But what do? Well, you use a 21st century solution. That's what you do. So here's an example of a 21st century solution. I'm going to show you here in the next couple slides how this works. So we're going to play a little financial tic-tac-toe. On one side of the spectrum, we have the safety spectrum. CDs, fixed annuities, those types of things. And what we love about those products is that they're safe. They're very safe. What we don't love about them is that you got to give quite a bit away to taxes every time you earn income from them. Now on the other end of the spectrum, we have the risk spectrum, and that's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, those types of investments. And what we love about those is the upside potential. What we don't love about them is 100% loss potential. Now, I had a guy here a while back who said, 100%, you can't do that. And I said, well, do you know anybody who owned Pope and Talbot stock? Or Enron? Or Rite Aid? Or Global Crossing? Or WorldCom? So that potential is there. So what we want to do is try to create a situation where we keep the things that we like about the safety part, but get rid of the things we don't like. And on the risk end of the spectrum, let's keep that upside potential that we like, but let's get rid of the loss potential. And you can see there's a gap there, but it is filled by a product called a fixed index annuity. And what that does, it takes the safety part from the safe end, and it takes the potential part from the risk end, and it fits right in between. And you're literally getting the best of both worlds. That's how that works. So here it is at a little more practical scenario. Now this slide says how a fixed index annuity works, and I want to tell you this is just for general purposes. It just shows you the basic idea behind the fixed index annuity. There's lots of different kinds of annuities out there that will credit differently, but this will show you what the idea is behind it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this black line. That's what people in mutual funds are on. They're living on the black line. And then we're going to put a green line in here. And you can see right here where our green line starts. So this first year, let's say we started our investment in our fixed index annuity back here. And the market went up the first year. We didn't get all of the gain there, but we got most of it. And at the end of that year, our fixed index annuity locked in. So the least we could ever have in that annuity, unless we took money out, is how much we put in plus how much gain we had, and we could never have less than that now. So the next year we have a lot of volatility in there. Market really doesn't do anything. So the market didn't do anything and our annuity didn't do anything either. And then you can see it gets bad. We have 2 years of the market just dropping out like crazy. People in mutual funds lost 30, 40, even 50% of their money. At the same time though, we know that our annuity locked in and we could never have less than we originally put in and what we gained. Now here's the fun part. We know the market's going to come back at some point, and it does. So we can see the market taking off, and look what happens to our fixed index annuity. There's a big gap there where we start, but now we have an increase in our annuity again because the market went up. The next year it goes up a little, and so does our annuity. Next year it goes up a little, and so does our annuity. And every year it locks in it, and we could never have less money in it than that. And then we have a couple really good years. So here's our annuity. The market finally caught up to us. And here's where our point is. We can never have less money than that. But now the market drops out again. And what's our annuity do? It levels out. So we gain zero. And like one of the guys says, zero is my hero. Now take a look at this. Now, which line would you rather be living on? The black line or the green line? And I ask people all the time, why in the world would you be living on that black line? Especially if you're getting close to retirement. Why in the world would you be there? And I think the main answer is, well, nobody told us about the green line before. My broker didn't say anything about that. So that's essentially what we're trying to do, is tell people to get out of this 20th century model and get in this 21st century model. That's how you're going to have a stable retirement. And the nice thing about it, you don't have to really sacrifice a lot of return. There's a lot of different kinds of annuities, and I can tell you they aren't for everybody. You have to be suitable to have your annuity. But once we get a fit, it really works well. So I don't want anybody to get caught in this retirement nightmare. But you know, there are millions of people back here that got caught in that, and there are millions of people here who are caught in that, and we just want to keep people out of that mess.